Welcome to the Answer is Yes podcast, where we interview some of the most interesting people that have said yes to opportunities in their life. We hope that through these stories, you can learn to create your own destiny by saying yes along the way. Join us as we explore the new series covering topics such as passion, integrity, and hard work. I'm your host, Jim Riley, and I hope you enjoy these interviews as much as I do. I believe that everyone has an important message worth hearing. Hello and welcome to the show. Appreciate you tuning in. I always love when I've got good guests on the line. I was introduced to Jay through my friend Mike Fallett, who's helping me write a book right now. Jay, thank you for taking some time today.
Yeah, man, let's roll. Energy, enthusiasm, excitement. What do you need from me today, man? Let's give them. Let's give them on a Monday.
It's infectious, and that's why I was looking forward to the call. I've already done 2 interviews today, but I knew this one was going to have the power behind it.
Dude, I'm going to close you out strong, dude. You know, I'm a great opener, but I'm a great headliner. So we're going to be good.
You know, I love it. You know, this podcast really has set me off in a trajectory the last couple of years for success. The thing is, I get an opportunity to meet great people like yourself. I spent a number of phone calls over this last weekend with Alex Weber. He's a ninja warrior. And talk about a guy being on fire and making moves. It's all a result of this podcast. And you know, you're in the business of helping people gain exposure and become more than what they normally are. And I want to touch on your business, but can you give us a little background on you?
Yeah, man. Look, 16 years ago, it's an Australian accent. Let's just clear that up. Is it Australian? Is it English? Is it Kiwi? I'm not sure. This guy looks like he's got very like an Indian Ricky Martin thing going on. We don't know. We're confused.
Yeah.
So listen, 16 years ago, born in Sydney, Australia, I wanted to do 2 things. I wanted to stand on stage and then tell the world who I was. And I started my career as a magician. That's right. Harry Potter, Hogwarts, tricks that you learn from library books. I was the kid that did it longer than you. So I built my career and my brand and my fame and my travels and my meeting billionaires and millionaires and guys and companies that, you know, like Virgin, McDonald's, Coca-Cola, all is in the world of magic. So I get flown to countries and events to bring the energy and entertainment to usually in a boring event. And then transitioning that, I added speaking onto that. I added learning how to engage with people on camera. I worked for MTV. And throughout that sort of 17-year window, 16 to 17-year window, I just sort of trained myself to be an elite soldier. That's the way I position it. So I can walk into any room with people and can connect with them. Yeah. So whether you're a 15-year-old high school kids from Minneapolis, Minnesota, or you're a bunch of very high net people from Singapore, I could walk in, engage with you, connect with you, and get you to listen to me. And now today I run a personal branding agency, helping people do what you do, like getting people to know you, getting people to trust you, and then helping you hit a global level with your business.
You said something early spot on, and that was you were the kid that did magic, but you did it longer than everybody else, right? Why longer? I know why, but please tell my listeners.
Dude, you know, who knows why we do something when we're 5 years old? We don't, like, I don't know why it was me. You know, why does a kid play soccer? I wanted to play pro soccer too. It was soccer and magic. But magic just lasted longer. I don't know, I was fascinated by the puzzle element. I was fascinated by fooling people. And I just spent more hours in my room doing one thing, repetition over and over and over again. And then, you know, you start doing gigs for McDonald's when you're 16, having to leave school and getting paid like $500 cash when kids are making $6 an hour. You come back, you feel like the man, you know, or the boy. So like, I just did it longer, you know, and then I started to stack concepts and stack kind of experiences. That's the word I'm looking for. And you got to see like, wow, like if I continue doing this, what's possible? I can travel, I can meet great people, I can make great money, I can do these things that I've always wanted to do. And magic was the vehicle to do it.
Yeah. You know, I spent a fair amount of, almost 9 years working with Bill Walton, the NBA All-Star, and he talked a lot about his other colleagues in the NBA. and about practice, 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 and practicing the basics. That's how the Jordans of the world were able to do these phenomenal moves. Is if you ask Jordan, hey, how'd you learn how to fly through the air like that? And he would say, well, I didn't learn how to do it. I practiced the basics every day. And when I needed to calm myself to do that move, I could. And it's probably a lot like your magic. You practice all day, you kept going, going, going. All of a sudden, you've got a career in magic.
Yeah, the runs on the board is like something I always tell people, like, hey, what do you do better than everyone else? And like, look at the amount of hours and the time that you put that's behind this. It's a lot of things in life is a skill set. So, I always wanted to be a great speaker. So every day I used to get a tripod and I used to talk to the camera and I would watch how many times I would say how many times I would slur, how many times I'm just not making sense, but I would watch myself over and over and over again until now you could put me on a stage of 500 entrepreneurs or people that would be tough to captivate. Within 30 seconds, I got them because of the hours, the years of like, boom, 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 boom. So, it is one of those things where it's like we forget sometimes those things of why those people are at the level they're at because it's just repetition.
Yeah, so often we just see the polish at the end. We don't realize how much effort goes into that. I mean, you said it right there yourself. All the hours in front of a camera. You want to be a speaker? Speak to yourself. Speak to the mirror.
Yeah.
Speak to your family, your aunts, your uncles. Talk to everybody. Get used to the performance.
Yeah, show me the runs on the board. And I tell people like, show me the runs on the board. And like when I built a YouTube channel to 57 million views, right? I did 3 videos a week for 7 years straight. Like that was how I built it. And you can go back and you can see those runs on the board. And that's the same thing I say with people like, show me what you've done for the last 10 years to be at the level where you're at. You know what I mean? And like, oh, I can see it. Or maybe the reason why you're not there is because you haven't done as much work as you should have done.
Yeah. I know this is going to play into what you're doing now currently, but it seems like along the way, you built some wonderful relationships that you can circle back to and tap into and give some value for value. What was it along the way that made you do that or gave you the intuition to build these relationships? Most people got their blinders on. They're just going to make their money and see what comes out the other side.
Yeah, so when I was working as a magician, and I was speaking as well, and I got to work for MTV. So MTV is owned by Viacom. It's a $1 billion media agency. You are the talent, right? And you're there and you're the puppet. But along the lines, you get to meet agency owners. You get to see the biggest of the best working for the $1 billion agency. So I got to just stay in contact with them. There was no what's the word I'm looking for? There was no fear for them to give me their contact details because I wasn't in competition with them. I wasn't trying to take anything away from them.
Right.
So they were like, cool, like this guy's a cool guy. Like, let's just exchange details. That's what you do. But I got to see how PR and advertising and branding and how those things were managed and scheduled and structured. And then you saw the bad things and the good things. The same with Hollywood. I used to live in LA. You see the good side of Hollywood. You see the bad side of Hollywood. You see the dark side of Hollywood. You see the reality of fame, the reality of making it, the reality of, wow, like what is actually life like when you're famous? Mm-hmm. So positioning that to the space I play today, because I built my own brand to the level I've done, now I can do it with other clients because I have those contacts for the last 10 years. So I can call up Forbes, their editors or the contributors, say, listen, remember me? Hey, listen, this is what I'm doing. They're like, Jay, good to see. Yeah, man. Like I already have the relationships that I've built, not purposely, just sort of accidentally. So that's how I've been able to sort of tap into relationships that people would take 10 years to create. I built it for the last 15 years. I just didn't know that that's what I was going to do. And now it's like I can call them and I get straight to the front of the queue.
Yeah. Jay, it's so valuable of a lesson right there because I was the vice president of Kettle One Vodka for 10 years, traveling the world, all the major cities, doing all these wonderful events and Hollywood movie premieres. Just like you, I was capturing business cards. I was just working hard. I was doing my job, providing value, happy to be there. And when I launched my own tequila company after that, They were good to get the call. Hey, Jim, I remember you. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And I think people forget about the value and personal equity of relationships.
Dude, 100%, man. Like relationships is the new currency, right? But it's also like it could be a long-term thing too.
Hmm.
You know, like I think sometimes we got to remember, like, and I'm the worst person. I want everything yesterday. I want everything today. It's like maybe it's not a now thing. And maybe it's a later thing, right? So like, but I also believe too, you don't need to constantly be in touch with these people every day. It's just not like that. I
Yeah.
just think deep down, if you're a cool guy, like cool person, hey, this is what I'm doing. Like, hey man, this might be of interest for you. If they pick up your phone call, that's my rule. Like, you must be valuable. If they get back to you, you must be valuable. If they don't,
Right. Right. No,
you
and
know,
I think this is a great topic of conversation because we meet people every day. Like you said, you don't have to call them every day, but if you leave a good impression on them, you can look down the road and add value to them in another way, or maybe they can bring value back to you. And it's often overlooked. And the reason why I'm kind of deliberating on this a little bit, I know you've built a business around your relationships, a very successful business. And why don't we talk about that for a couple minutes? Because I'd love for people to hear what you do now that they've got some background on you.
yeah, man. Well, my job at the end of the day is to get the whole world to know who you are and what you do and what you're about. And my job is to put you into places where most people can't get you in. Television, getting you verified on Instagram and Facebook, getting you the bestseller book, getting you in Forbes.com. You know, a lot of times people pay copious amounts of money to at least get the chance to possibly get these opportunities. Now, when you work with me, because of the relationships, you're literally paying to get in front of the queue. And when I work with you or work with the client, like we can literally position you so you're at the front of the queue. So Good Morning America may say to me, hey, listen, we're looking for a guy who used to work in the alcohol industry and who's a down to earth guy. I'm like, I got the guy. And there's no trust problems. They're like, I trust Jay. And if I trust Jay, he'll give me good people. You know how long that would take for people to get to that level? Like they may never get there. So the advantage that I have from the relationships that I've built is I can get people to the best media outlets to expose them to the world. And I'm really excited about that because I know how much it costs to get a PR agency and an advertising agency to get you there on marketing. It costs a lot and you may never get there. So I just give people the front of the queue.
Yeah, I don't know if people realize how important that can be. I always relate that back to Vegas. When I was at Kettle One, we never waited in the queue or the line right at the nightclub. We came through the back door. I didn't even know there was a line till I left. And it's like, wow, there's a lot of people here. But, fast forward 10 years later, I'm not in the business anymore. I'm waiting in that queue. I was like, how do I get around this thing? Let's call Jay and get out of this line.
Dude, it's all about that VIP experience. It's all about like, listen, I went to Disney Universal, sorry, in LA, right? And I remember making a phone call and they're like, listen, we've got the whatever, $97 general admission or the $397 fast access pass. And they're like, listen, we will take you directly to the front of the line. You don't even have to wait. I was like, done. You know how great that was? And then knowing me and my big fat mouth, I said, listen, how much would it cost me to get the number one tour guide who's been there the longest?
Right.
They said another $100. I said, done, drop it. So 2 people, $1,000, right? Obviously I went with someone. We went with the best guy, the best tour guide, and we got to the front of the queue. You know how better that was? And I looked at everybody waiting in the queue and I said, that would have been me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, that extra $900, $800 was worth every cent.
Yeah. Jay, talk to me. Somebody comes and works with you. They're at the front of the queue now. They've paid their entry fee. They're there. What do they do next? Where do you take them next after that?
Well, the first thing we need to do is really get them clear on what they're doing and who they are. What's their messaging, man? Yeah. People go, I'm a coach. I'm a real estate entrepreneur. I'm a speaker. I'm like, yeah, but you and a million other people. Like the way I position it is this. If Oprah has 3 spots on her television show as guests and there are 3 real estate entrepreneurs in front of her to choose, why is she choosing you and not everybody else? Right? So we can get you to the front of the line, right? But what makes you different? What is your hook? And I think some people just go, they've never asked themselves, what actually makes me so unique? And don't just be like, I'm great at customer service, or I've got runs on the board, or hey, I used to work for one of the biggest vodka companies. Like, no one cares. Like, you do this and they go, oh, that's interesting. So I think the big thing for us is making